Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome to the East West Show. Jack Chow with GNE TV. Local politics is really a major issue that we want to talk about. However, sometimes when you talk about politics, politics may not look like in the form of politics. So there are two kinds of politics. You're talking about politicians' politics. You're talking about community politics. All right. With me today in talking about the community politics, not the politician politics, because they talk about different kind of politics. They talk about business, politics as business. We talk community politics. Is my good friend, Mr. Bob Lindsey, and veteran LASD team member for 32 and a half years.
Yes, sir.
Out of those 32 and a half, 28 of those glorious years were on leadership duty, when I ended up one of the 16 commander of LASD. Bob Lindsey also now is the candidate for the county sheriff department, the department. So it's a big department, and it is concerns the whole LA. And when you still want to talk about as a politics, that is our community politics. So today in community politics, welcome to my dear friend, Bob Lindsey, please.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you for having me here.
And I'm so glad that you're here. And the community is very thankful for you. For last time, 2 weeks ago, you made that conference, not a conference, a forum.
Yes.
On public safety.
Yes.
Public safety, community safety, and many know-hows. When I say know-hows, I say those members or even the people who ask questions, they did not know how to handle situations as such. And he is the one that answered the whole thing. And also there are major issues about the whole concerns of whole LA County safety, when statistics show that the LA County crime rate is rising, whereas the state of California crime rate is going down. Something that causes lots of thinking, right? So with my friend Bob Lindsey, we are today, while talking about the community politics, we see what's exactly in there. That's why I say put LA County safety first, not politics.
Yes.
So how do you take that, please, sir? And remember, yeah. By the way, just now my cameraman Jonathan Chan made a comment about Saturday evening there was the event, the Chinese music concert.
A beautiful
event, right?
Yes.
Prior to the event, at the press conference, you made a speech. And Jonathan says, quote unquote, that he did one of the best speech.
Well, I appreciate that.
In which you do mention about putting the community safety first. So that's why I made today's discussion, put LA County safety first, not politics. And I need you to give us the concept, please.
Well, you know, it's funny you would say that, Jack, because you don't know this, but one of our new posters that we're putting out there says take the politics out of law enforcement, and we need to take the politicians out of law enforcement.
Oh, good take. That's a very good take.
Yeah, because what happens is when politics begins to take over law enforcement, law enforcement doesn't do its job anymore.
You're right, absolutely right.
And that's the shame, because law enforcement was built, it was designed years and years ago to take care of people.
Yeah, you're
right.
You're
not to take care of politicians, not to take care of special interests.
Yes, you're right.
But to serve the community and to serve the people and to protect the families, to prevent crime so that it doesn't occur.
Yes, you're right.
And then obviously to respond to the community when there's crisis, when there's even a simple crisis. You know, let's say somebody comes and vandalizes your house. You know, maybe it's not, nobody's getting hurt, but we feel violated.
Yes.
When
you're
somebody takes property
right. We
that
feel challenged.
well, you've worked so hard to
Yes.
create a nice home, and somebody comes and destroys that, it's a very important thing. And
Exactly.
you need somebody
Exactly.
to respond
And I believe,
care.
Bob, that you made a very, very basic, very fundamental point. That is, for example, I am involved in lots of events like the one that you spoke of, right?
Yes.
Now, you're talking about my job, for example, in the city of Arcadia. I want to do an event, right? And I hire contractors. I supervise the job myself to make sure that every screw is tightened so that they form a strong stage.
Yes.
Who dance? Who dance? The performers dance, right? Now, your point really falls in that ballpark is that you don't want a stage dance yourself, right?
But we
You
don't
wanna-
need the stage to fall down while they're
Yeah,
dancing.
you're right. You're right. You're right. The stage, if the stage itself dances, where do the performers dance, right?
Right.
Things like that. So
That's right.
we want to make sure politics get out of law enforcement. It has nothing to do with law enforcement, right? What happens if politics gets into law enforcement?
Well, then the wrong decisions are made. For example, if a politician wants certain things to happen in his little tiny area, then guess what happens to the rest of the area?
I see.
It goes unpoliced, or the response times take longer to get there. You know, that's happening on the Sheriff's Department right now.
And that's why you're running.
That's absolutely why I'm running. You know, there's different things, and I don't know if your listeners and if your viewers know this, but the Sheriff's Department in Los Angeles County contracts with cities. So take, for instance, the Sheriff's Department is in Temple City. So they have that city. It doesn't have its own police department. It has the sheriff. In Arcadia, Arcadia has Arcadia Police Department.
Yeah, all right.
However, there are areas around Temple City and areas around Arcadia that are county area. The sheriff has all of those county areas,
I see.
every bit of it. And here's what happens. If in fact politics comes into play, then what happens, because of dollars, of money, the cities get policed, but the county areas do not. So if you live in that county area, you may rarely see a police car.
Ignored.
Ignored.
You're ignored.
Ignored. And much of that has to do with politics.
It is politics. It is politics.
Absolutely.
Well, but the thing is that we, the public, is not aware of the fact. I believe that if chances allow, you want people to know that fact, that they are being ignored because they were kind of a victim of the politician play, of the politics play, that
That's
kind
right.
of thing.
See, this current sheriff has not hired enough deputies. The deputies on the sheriff's department are not happy. And so they're not telling people to come be deputy sheriffs. They're telling people, don't be a deputy sheriff, not here, go to some other department. So when you can't hire enough deputies, that means if there's not enough deputies in the patrol out on the streets, that they start pulling from certain areas. And they don't police the areas the same. And so I had a message. I'm on a neighborhood chat where I live. And I would encourage everybody to get on a neighborhood chat, your neighbors, so your neighbors can talk to you.
Yeah, you're right.
And there were car burglaries. There was a shooting in our area the other day. But the bottom line is we share that information. But one of the things that was shared was one of the residents was saying, "I never see a police car. We can't get a police car over here." And guess where they live? They live in the county area.
Yeah.
And that is why.
That is why. So we as taxpayers, we want to be evenly or equally represented.
That's right.
And we want to be evenly and equally protected.
Yes,
right?
Jack. And that takes leadership and management.
Yeah, that takes leadership and management. That takes the concept, the right concept, right? So
Right. And no politics.
no politics.
The politics have to leave.
For
the
sure.
community needs to be number one.
Okay. My dear audience, my lovely audiences, brothers, sisters, my dear fellow LA, Los Angelinos, right? So this is a very hardcore issue,
Yes, it
right?
is.
And yet we do not know. We are not equally protected, right? Why? Because they are not. When I say they, I mean LASD,
Yes.
LA County Sheriff. LA County Sheriff not hiring enough deputies to protect us. And the question automatically points to one direction, that why don't they hire enough? Let's take a very short moment out. When we come back, we'll find out why they are not hiring enough deputies. Is it a budget problem? Or is it a resource problem? Or is that, well, whatever, right? When we say politics, where does politics play in this regard? Stay with us. We'll be right back, please. Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences, my dear fellow Angelinas. Welcome back to the show talking about our Los Angeles.
Yes.
All right. The county of Angel is now having its hard time because its communities, its people are not equally protected. Why? Because we do not have enough deputies. So, could be a budget problem, could be a resource problem, could be something else. Today with me in discussion to find out the exact answer is the candidate for the county sheriff department, for the leader, for the sheriff. So that's Bob Lindsey. Once again, welcome him back to the show.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. And I'll be more thankful if you can explain why the LA County Department doesn't hire enough deputies.
Well, Jack, I'm an expert in that area, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, status quo, please. Yeah. How many deputies do we need, actually? And how many do we have, actually? Well, and how many are on leave, on a regular leave, or whatever, on any given day? What are we supposed to have? What are we having? Please.
Sure. The Sheriff's Department has 18,000 employees. It's a city. I mean, it's a huge number of employees.
I see.
About 8,500 to 9,000 of those are deputy sheriffs.
On the streets.
Those are people who are supposed to either be in the jails, deputies, or in the courts, or in special assignments, or in the patrol cars, helping the citizens in the community. Of those 8,500, there's probably close to 1,300 vacancies now. That means 1,300 positions. There's money for those positions, but they have not hired the people to fill them.
Why they have not?
Lack of planning, lack of knowledge, lack of desire. There's all sorts of reasons, but it's incompetence is what it is.
In other words, the lack of leadership.
It's a lack of leadership.
Right.
And, you know, there'll be all sorts of excuses like, well, there's not enough qualified people.
I don't think so.
There's not enough people applying. They'll come up with lots of excuses, but the bottom line is, it's the sheriff's job to make sure those positions are filled. And I know, looking in the Chinese community, into every community, there are lots of qualified people. You have to reach out, and you have to convince people.
Yeah, you're right.
And young people, and they don't have to be young. They can be 40. They can be, you can come on the sheriff's department even when you're 40 years old.
Exactly. Yeah.
We love that, and I'll tell you why. Because they're mature. They have life's experience.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. They're patient. There are all sorts of opportunities on the sheriff's department.
There are different kind of jobs.
Yes, it is. And we also need people from within each community.
Let's hold on to this. Let's still find the numbers, because numbers do speak, right?
Yes.
Let's say, on average, LA County needs 8,500 of patrol officers, or officers on the street, officers available when there's something to respond, something like that. And now you're talking about 1,300 vacancies, 1,300 vacancies, and then we're down to 7,200, 7,200, right?
7,000. Yeah, but it doesn't end there. Let me add numbers for you.
Uh-huh.
We probably are going to have to get a worksheet out here, Jack.
All right, good.
But I will tell you that there are also probably about 1,800 people on the sheriff's department that are off duty, injured.
Yeah. All right, gone.
Now, that's not just deputies, that's everybody. But out of that, we could probably calculate 700 of them are deputy sheriffs. So take another 700 on top of the 12 or 1,300, right?
Yeah.
Then
That's 25 already.
Then the sheriff relieves people of duty. So in other words, if he thinks a deputy has done something wrong, he can take that deputy and make him sit at home. And this sheriff has a tendency to do that. So now there's another 400 of those.
All right, we were down to 6,000. Now another 400. We have 5,600 altogether.
Take vacations,
All
people
right.
out sick, and on any given day, you probably have another 500 of those.
All right, and then we have 5,000 left. So out of 85, we have five. No, out of 85, we have 50 left, right?
5,000.
5,000. 5,000. I'm sorry. 8,500. Out of 8,500, we have 50,000 left.
Yeah, 5,000.
5,000. Yeah.
Out of the whole complement to be servicing on any given day.
I see. Now, and those numbers, when numbers are checked, right? Let's talk about the fact. Is that true that there's no qualified people?
No, that's absolutely not true.
And how long that has been the status quo, please?
Well, that's the excuse. I don't believe that's the status quo.
I see.
You know, I was a director of personnel for the sheriff's department. I ran hiring. I ran backgrounds.
I see.
ran all of that for almost 6 years. And each year we hired nearly 1,000 people, sometimes more than that. And yes, times have changed, but people are qualified. And you just have to go out and find the right people for the job.
To reach out.
But also you have to put programs together for the young individuals out in the communities so that they want to be police officers. You know, a lot of people nowadays don't want to be a police officer because of everything that's happening. It's a dangerous job.
Yeah, it is.
And they hear constantly that deputies are bad people. They're not bad people. They're your neighbor. They live next door to you and they're good people. And you know what? That's who we need to hire. We need to hire neighborhood people who love families, who want to make a difference in the community, and who know the community. That's what we need.
I recall the last time at the forum with EDI, you said this in front of the audience, is that our job is not only arrest the bad ones. Our job, the other 50% of our job is to protect the good ones.
That's correct.
The good people, right?
That's right.
Now, when people misread, it is the sheriff's job to take it, to do the outreach to people, to let the word out, to let them know why they should become a deputy themselves. So, have you seen the past 2.5 years or something? Enough done in that area?
Absolutely not. There was nothing done for 3 years with this sheriff.
I see.
In fact, the numbers that he had working, trying to recruit, trying to test, were abysmal. It all falls on his shoulders. If the sheriff doesn't give direction, if the sheriff doesn't cause the hiring and the backgrounds and all of that to occur, then it falls directly on him. Right now, deputy sheriffs working the communities out there, responding to baby not breathing calls, responding to burglary calls, respond To domestic violence calls, Jack.
Wife screamings.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, well, okay.
Do you realize that right now they're being told they have to work overtime? They're told you can't go home. We don't have enough deputies, so you have to stay here and work another shift. That,
In other words, with the 5,000 available, they have to do a job much bigger than themselves.
they have to do
Right?
a job of 8,500.
Yeah, 8,500, and then they made to work extra time.
Yes, they are. And the problem with that in law enforcement is you never want to come up to a tired police officer.
The problem, yes, exactly the point. If my boss comes to me and say, hey, Jack, you want to work on another shift? All right, I'll do another show. I say, okay. I may fall asleep doing my second or third show. However, no people die. Nobody dies. Nobody dies when Jack is nodding off, right?
That's right.
But if a sheriff officer is a sheriff deputy, those are off on the job though, somebody dies.
Right. And
That's-
it's even worse than that.
That's the seriousness about it.
Oh, it's very serious. It's even worse than that, though, Jack, because they're taking people from one job and having them do a different job.
Why?
So, in other words,
Why?
they will take, because they don't have enough deputies, they will
I
take
see.
a detective who is supposed to be solving a crime. Let's say your daughter or your wife was beat up at the grocery store, and this detective is supposed to be finding that person who did it. They can't work on that case because they are being told, you're not working on that case, you have to go drive a patrol car. So now
How about the case?
it just sits there.
Uh,
It just sits there with nothing happening to it, and that bad person is out running around, and he's going to beat somebody else up.
okay, now, I have a hard time understanding this guy. I mean, the current sheriff, if what you say are true, though. It's not a money problem. It's not a people problem. Because people are there, qualified people are there. Money is available, right? Why wouldn't he do something that he is entitled to do?
Because he has no experience in the sheriff's department.
Oh, I
this
see.
This is a person who came from a different department.
Where did he come from?
He came from LAPD, and then he worked at Long Beach, and then he came into the largest sheriff's department
Of the United States.
in the world.
In the world, yeah, all right. Okay.
In the world. And so when you go from an agency, his agency that he led over at Long Beach
All right.
was only as big as some of our stations.
All right, okay.
And we
okay, I
have
see.
30 some odd stations. So when you start thinking about the magnitude of the sheriff's department, he was not prepared.
Is that
or
also his?
knowledgeable.
Is that also his sluggish, lazy, not active enough to do the job?
Well, you know, I don't want to call the man lazy because he's had a long career in law enforcement, and I would never want to say that about anybody.
I see.
But I will tell you this, that I don't think he knew what he was getting into. And I will tell you, I worked there for 32 years. I know exactly what I'm getting into.
All right, that's what we call who's expert, who's not, right?
That's correct.
Okay, my dear friend, my lovely audience, I sound like a doctor. I'm trying to diagnose the problem that LA County has with his sheriff department. With me, helping me with the diagnosis, my good friend, candidate for county sheriff, LASD, and my dear friend, Bob Lindsey. Let's take a short moment out. Let me ask him when we come back how he want to fill in the blanks once he take office. I believe he will take office because the call is out there. The call is there. I heard the call, and I can witness that last time when they've led the forum, how heavily he would support it. All right. Anyway, so stay with us. We'll be right back, please. Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences. Welcome back to the show. You, ladies and gentlemen, each of you are my fellow Angelinas. Welcome back to the discussion about LA as a county when it's safety at stake. With me is my good friend, candidate for LA County Sheriff to replace the person incumbent is my good friend, Bob Lindsey. And he is someone there in the department for 32 and a half years. That's a lot of years. That's more than a lifetime sometimes.
Yes,
But people
indeed.
die 25, 30
Yes, they do.
in those days, right?
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. And out of this 32 and a half glorious years, 28 of those years he was on leader position, and later became a commander, one of the 16 big ones of the county sheriff department. With the lots of experiences, he is helping me to diagnose the problem, why we see what we see. What do we see? We see the crime rate of LA County rising, and on the other hand, we see the crime rate of whole California is coming down. That's a slam on the face. I mean, why are we doing this? And the state is doing that. And the answer, according to him, was that we do not have enough sheriff deputies. Why? Well, I was asking him, is that because of budget money? No, money is there, right? Are there not qualified people? No, people are there qualified. And it is only experiences that this leader is supposed to have to how to use the resources on hand, how to outreach things. Then it turns to my question to ask him, once you take office, using your experiences, how do you want to fill up the gaps? The gaps we're talking about between 5,000 to 8,500.
Right. Well, you know, the first thing we have to do is we have to put back in place the morale on the police department.
Morale.
The morale is the lowest it has ever been in the history of the department that I can remember.
I see.
That's 40 years. In
Yeah.
over 40 years,
You're right, yeah.
the deputies have never been so upset that, one, they're being ordered to work overtime. They are subjected to policies and procedures that don't work, and they are disciplined in a manner which is extremely severe. You know, it's like taking your child and they put their hand in the cookie jar and you chop it off. That's not what you do.
Okay.
You train your child not to take the cookie before dinner, and that it's not okay to do that. But when you take a look at the totality of what's happening to deputy sheriffs, and the reason I say that, Jack, is the best recruiters are deputy sheriffs. When deputy sheriffs are out in the community and they come to your house and they see your son or they see your daughter or they see you and say, you know what? You know, Jack, deputy sheriffs are the best recruiters. So if you have a deputy sheriff out on the street or somewhere that is going to a house and they come to your house and they see you or your daughter or your son or your wife,
Okay.
they may come up to you and say, you know what? You would make a great deputy sheriff. Have you ever considered that? And as they go on their calls and they go every day, they're recruiting. They're recruiting to try and find qualified people who could be their partners, who could be good deputy sheriffs out in the community. Now, when you have deputy sheriffs going up to houses and say, oh, no. Don't become a deputy sheriff. It's not a good job right now.
Look at me.
Do not do that. The word spreads.
Yeah. All right, okay, yeah.
And
I
pretty
see.
soon,
I see what you mean.
nobody
Yeah.
wants to be a deputy sheriff.
I see what you mean. Especially, remember last time you, at the forum, the EDI forum, in front of audiences, you mentioned one story that everybody was kind of like, wow, in disbelief. Why would that happen? When the two officers chasing a burglar,
Right.
and they were, say it again, please, because my audience need to know that. That could give you a good example, give everybody a good example, why people are discouraged, rather than encouraged.
That story was about a pursuit where they chased some burglars, and after catching the burglars, the deputies got in trouble for catching them because the department says you're not supposed to chase them. Okay, by policy. Let me give you even a worse one.
All right.
Okay, so that your audience understands what deputy sheriffs have to put up with. Let's say there's a person with a gun, and this person is running towards houses where your viewers live,
Okay.
and a deputy chases them.
All right.
The deputies are getting in trouble if they don't have a tree to hide behind, if they don't have a rock to hide behind, if they don't have a car to hide behind, because the department is saying it wasn't tactically sound. In other words, don't chase them. Put out a radio call and let that guy go into the neighborhood. The deputies don't want to do that. They don't want that person to go into somebody's home and take them hostage. That doesn't make sense.
It looks to me that the call of the department is exactly to the contrary of we taxpayers want.
I believe it is, and I will tell you what, the deputies are afraid to do their job the way they know how. You know what? If I'm chasing a bad guy, I know I'm at risk. I know if there's not a tree.
That's a heroic act.
It's a heroic act. I know if there's not a tree that I can't hide behind, it's more important to me at that time to save the neighborhood than it is
You're right.
to
You're
let
right.
them go.
Yeah. It's your exposure to danger or the community's exposure to danger. Am I right?
That is correct, exactly stated perfectly, and right now this sheriff and his policies expose the community to the danger.
So
rather than
you hold on to that belief that when the community safety versus the officer safety, though, you would encourage your officer to protect the community first.
I encourage every police officer to protect themselves and the community. In a situation like that, it is the deputy's responsibility to make a decision. And that decision, based on what they're thinking in their head, may be to chase that person because he is fearful that the house they're heading for, he knows children are in there, or he knows this. For somebody up in a building, sitting in a chair like this, to then second guess that deputy, who, by the way, only has seconds to decide what to do with this man with a gun, is wrong.
Maybe even less than a second, because a blink of an eye, something like that.
That's right. We have to support these deputy sheriffs. We have to allow them to do their job, or they're going to do what they're doing now.
Exactly.
They're going to quit wanting to go out and engage because they know they're going to get in trouble, no matter what.
Exactly. All right. Recently, I saw a film, Chinese film, that I do not agree with the whole thing. But in one episode, right, one of the members of the team wasn't performing quite so well, right? The leader, prior to they enter into something bigger, he made sure that everybody had the common ground. He says, "Has anyone in our team failed?" No, I didn't hear you. Say louder. No, louder. No, like that. He wants to protect the guy who made a mistake, right? As a team, he is the leader. He said, I want to hear you guys say that no one on the team has done anything wrong. Like that point. So I want that. If I were them, I were the community members, and if I were you, I would be a leader like that. Do you think that describes the leader quality?
Well, I think it describes leader quality to a point, Jack. But I believe if there's somebody not doing their job...
No, I'm not talking about huge crime.
Oh, I see.
I'm talking about little wrongdoing. For example, I shouldn't sneeze in front of the camera.
Right.
That's the kind of thing.
Right.
Because nobody dies because I sneeze, right?
No,
right.
That's right.
That kind of thing.
That's right. No. What you have to do is build people up, not break them down.
You're right. Especially those stories happened in those days when the extreme left politics were in power.
Right.
Anything, if it says something wrong, and then you end up in jail for saying something wrong only.
That's right.
Right.
Look, this sheriff came into office, and he was supposed to be, quote unquote, the reformer. He was supposed to reform
Yes.
the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. His message of reform is to beat up on the deputies, to discipline the deputies, to fire the deputies, to hurt the deputies in any way possible by taking their money away, their jobs away, and that's what he has done since he has arrived. And the deputies are going to react to that.
He must have lost a lot of support.
He has lost. He's lost support from inside the entire department.
His own man.
But here is the problem. It's not a good thing. I understand what he thinks, but it's wrong thinking.
You're right.
It is just wrong
Once
thinking.
again, you're talking about this is the guy of no qualified experiences.
Well, he's not qualified to run the sheriff's department, in my opinion, but here's what he has done. He has alienated the deputy sheriffs. When you do that, that hurts the community.
All right.
It doesn't matter to me how they feel about the sheriff, and if the sheriff thinks he's doing fine, that's up to him. But what matters to me is the community. And when you have a whole set of deputies out there, 6,500 of them, 6,000, 5,000 on any day, that don't feel comfortable doing their job, you have a problem.
All right, big problem. All right. My dear audience, today with me is my good friend Bob Lindsey, candidate for county sheriff of LA County. Let's take a short moment now. It looks like we have found the problem. It looks like we found the problem. We'll be right back, please. Good job. Hello, my dear friends, my lovely audiences, ladies and gentlemen, my dear fellow Angelinos, Angelina, whoever, welcome back to the show. It's a discussion about LA as a county, why we need a department to protect us, right, called the LA Sheriff Department. With the Sheriff Department, you need a leader. The leader qualifies, the leader who has the experience enough to provide the service, to allocate its officers, to encourage its officers to go ahead, do their job in our protection. Why? Because we are the people. We are the taxpayers. So with me is my good friend, candidate for county sheriff, Mr. Bob Lindsey, and member for LA County Sheriff for 32 and a half years, 28 years as a commander, as a leadership position, and later became commander of LA County Sheriff Department. I believe he is the one that has the experiences, and by talking to him, I decided to endorse him, and I'm on the back of him now. I believe lots of my friends who buy me as a good man's taste,
Yes.
will support him. And last time, on the 19th of January in EDI at the Culture Center, we put up a forum. We let him, Mr. Bob Lindsey, answer the questions himself. And he did an excellent job that convinced everybody. Lots of people decided, okay, we need somebody like you, right? So these somebody like you, though, once you're in office, you will deal with the morale, right? You will deal with the hirings,
Yes.
right? The trainings, the recruiting, all the whole thing. All right. On the other hand, how are you going to deal with issues otherwise?
Well, there's
Please.
lots of issues, and we need to focus on the community, Jack.
Okay.
One of the things, and we've talked about it several times, but one of the highlights, at least of the Chinese community and the Asian community, was the Asian Crime Task Force.
Yes.
Now, this is something that multiple times, sitting here with you, I have implored the sheriff, the current sheriff, please bring it back now, because we all know that Asian crime task force prevented crime. And when the investigations occurred into crime in areas in San Gabriel and Arcadia, in all sorts of areas that aren't necessarily sheriff's areas. So anybody that is watching this, that is in a city not patrolled by the sheriff, crimes are solved by the sheriff, even in cities we don't patrol. And that's very important to know.
Yeah, that's very important.
And so even though I have said, please bring it back, even though the community has said, please bring it back, this sheriff has refused. Now, why? I can't tell you. Incompetence is my opinion, because why wouldn't you want an elite group of people who understand that community to go in and be able to converse, talk, know, be able to have the community personally call them, they become comfortable with them, and that they can solve these crimes so fast. I mean, you heard Tom Yu, you heard John Havellini, you heard these guys talk about the crimes they solved simply because they knew the community. Right now,
understand the
that's right.
The ethnic background.
Well, not only the ethnic background, but the community itself, knowing that when somebody says this person did it, they know exactly who that person is. They know exactly where that person stays. They know their habits. They've arrested them before.
Yeah, speaking of that, though, I believe I owe my audience a little explanation about this Asian Special Task Force. Right. According to Detective Tom Yu, who was there last time at the forum as one of the Keaton speakers, told us a story like this. There was one case that the detectives of the department spent 6 weeks, 6 weeks of time locating one suspect, and in the group, in the hands of Tom Yu and his group, they had it done within 6 hours.
That's right.
Why? He explained, because without understanding of the Asian group, though, you swim in the ocean of people. With understanding of the Asian group, knowingly this person has a strong dialect of Hokkien-ese, so they know where Hokkien-ese live. And then the circle from this big gets to one point.
That's right.
And one by one, within 6 hours, the job got done. And also, Tom, you mentioned that in the whole structure of the county area, city area, and there's the Asian task force is kind of free flowing, free zooming, right?
That's right.
So, and they are not saying if somebody deals something in the city area and then gets hired in the county area, going to be a problem, or vice versa. Something like that.
Jack,
right?
criminals don't say, I am only going to commit crimes in San Gabriel
All
or
right.
Arcadia or Temple City. They say, wherever I can commit a crime and get away with it, that's what I'm going to do.
All right, good.
And the point that you make is those investigators, who were good investigators, by the way, they couldn't solve the crime in 6 weeks. But because of the knowledge, the expertise,
you're right.
the know-how of the Asian Crime Task Force,
you're right.
They solved what they couldn't solve in 6 weeks in 6 hours.
Yeah, you're right.
That's crime,
exactly.
By the way, that crime never may have
Once
been solved.
Once again, the big word, experience.
Yes.
Right. Give me a character, a person, a little background of 5 or 6 lines. I go in online, I search for a little bit. Well, I do homework, and I know exactly what question they ask. What is that? It is experience.
That's right.
Right? Given the situation that they look for a nanny in Southern California, could be San Diego already, right? Could be Palm Desert or something.
Could be, but they would go there to find her.
Yeah.
They would go.
Like they swim in the ocean, right? So in the different case, when the Asian task force involved, they got the circle right away into a very small one, and then he says that by 4 hour mark, he got situation under control for 4 locations, 4 different home style, what's it called? Home style motels, something like
Yes.
that, right? And that's where they got the suspect.
They got this, and it was like you said, in 6 hours. You know, I look at it like this. When you come into the Asian community, because of its special nature, because of the things that are in that community, it's like flying an airplane. You have to know all these toggle switches and everything there. If you take somebody who's driving a car, they aren't going to know what to do. Just because you can drive a car, you can't drive this airplane. And that's what we need. We need that Asian Crime Task Force airplane back where it's supposed to be, so we can solve these crimes, so we can prevent crime, and so we can help the community.
That's exactly a good way to describe it. If you take a view like this high, you see exactly where everything is about.
That's right.
Otherwise, you're checking block by block, street by street, and then the job going to be tighter. Now that we understand, we're short of hands already.
Very short.
And when we need special hands. We need experiences. So question I'm asking you is, when you took office, you want to resume that Asian task force?
Immediately. It needs to be resumed. Gang units need to take their special place. There are all sorts of things that this sheriff has done that hurt solving crime. It's exactly the opposite of what
you
should
just
be done.
said. You just said accidentally, or you said whatever, not accidentally, that you recommended the current sheriff to do so?
Of course, on your show multiple times. He watches this.
All right,
I know
he
the
does.
sheriff and the people who work in the sheriff's department's information bureau.
Yeah, they do.
They watch your
they
show.
watch
Your
me,
show
yes,
is a very important show.
Exactly. They watch me. I know that. But why wouldn't he do so?
Ego, I don't know. I have no idea, because if he cared about the community, if he cared about protecting the community, keeping it safe, preventing bad things from happening, it would already be reestablished.
Let me tell you one thing, okay? Say people coming from China, or people with Chinese origin, or people of domestic, right? Domestically, when English is concerned, from New Yorkers to Angelenos, of course, if your ears are sensitive, you will tell the difference. My morning coffee, something like that, right? And we on the West Coast say it differently.
Yes.
But the same thing in China, you're talking about hundreds of different dialects. Okay, what is good for? It's good for as an ID of this person, where it comes from.
Yes.
Now, given the fact people are gregarious, meaning they try to live together, they live to one location. For example, when Vietnamese come to the States, they choose to live in one area.
Yes.
That's why you have this little Tokyo, little Saigon,
Right.
Little Saigon, those places. Like the Chinatown, whatever town.
It's
right?
comfort. It's
comfortable there.
Yes.
So now, without knowing this structure, without knowing this background, though, for say a person kills somebody, right? Even if they show the audio, nobody knows the background. If it is in the case where you have this Asian task force renewed, the detective on the force would tell that guy is from Shandong of China. Shandong of China. Where do people come from Shandong live together? And then, going to be one small town.
And it's even more than that, because remember what Detective Yu said. A lot of people living in these small communities do not want to be out there talking to police officers about the crime. The Asian Crime Task Force knows that. They do it secretly.
All right.
They're able to work themselves into the community so that people can freely talk, so that they can share their information.
They speak the language. They speak the language.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then they don't have to have fear of reprisal. They
Yeah,
don't
you're
have
right,
to
you're
have
right.
fear of people in the community saying, oh, look at them, they're talking to them.
Yeah.
They can do it in a place of comfort and safety.
After all, from 6 weeks to 6 hours, you're talking about a great difference, a huge difference.
Well, and remember, it's 6 weeks not solved. That
Oh,
could have been 6
yeah,
years.
yeah, you're right. 6 weeks not solved.
Right.
Getting it solved within 6 hours, six
That's
and a
right.
half hours, right?
That's right.
So that's a huge astronomical difference
Yeah, with hundreds of cases.
with hundreds of cases.
Right.
Right. And you know, Tom is so interesting. Tom sent me a picture of that lady. That's the lady. That was the lady that I got. Oh, well, I don't have to show it, right? Anyway, that the lady I got with the six
Yes, I
and a
saw
half
that.
hours,
So,
right? Like
yeah.
that kind of thing. I believe we do need the people. Once you're in office, you will get your group back.
That group will come back, and there's so many more things we need to do for the community. But that's mission number one, is to make the community comfortable again, talking to the police officers in that community. I will tell you, for me to drive out into the community and believe that I am going to speak all those dialects or any of those dialects is crazy. When you talk about 6 weeks of handling that case, that's 6 weeks they were handling that case that they were not handling other cases. Or taken away from other cases they could have handled.
And not having it solved.
Not having it solved. See, that, and that is a waste of manpower.
And the plus, we do have a shorthand now, and such big, 3,500 short, so far as I can put the numbers together.
Well, Jack, and it's a waste of intellect when you think about it.
Of
Because
course.
let's say, if Jonathan here asked me to come in and do your job, I'd go, what?
Yeah,
I don't know how to do Jack's job. You're going to have to train me how to do this.
Exactly.
And that's what we're expecting deputies to do. Go into the Chinese community not knowing what's happening and just try and do the job without the tools.
You're right. All right. My dear audience, we're over time, but I'm so happy that we got some points clear. Number one, once Bob Lindsey is in office, he would first resolve the morale situation, which is the key. Number one, you are not capable enough to motivate your limited officer, which is down to 5,000 already, versus 8,500 needed. And number two, it would be a good call to bring more on the recruiting route and to outreach to the community to get more member hours, provided money is not a problem. Money is there. And on the other hand, he would resume some of the important organizations or groups, such as the Asian Task Force, Special Task Force, which functions so well, proven to be so well, still to this point, proven to be so working, to back to work, and he says that he will get the members back once he takes office. All right. Thank you very much for running.
Thank you, sir.
Because that's not only a personal appreciation. I believe that when I say it on behalf of the community, because the community, as we the people, we need to be protected in a more safer way. We need your protection, and we need the leadership.
Well, I look forward to being a big part of the community.
Very good. All right, good. So thank you very much, my dear audience, for watching. And to Bob, thank you very much for running.
Thank you very much.